wait until a few more people come online here. Then I can share the news with you guys. I guess y'all seen in the news probably here in Sweden, they are going to change the amount. Hey there, Ida. Welcome back. Nice to see you again. I guess y'all know that they're trying to change the law in Sweden for the amount of time that you have to wait for citizenship in Sweden. They are also trying to um, have a language test that you will have to pass, and they're also trying to make a civics test or a test about, Sweden and stuff. I think those last two things are really great. I think every country probably should do that. The United States has something similar. It's, from what I understand, it's pretty easy. But yeah, I think those things are very, very reasonable. But the one I'm concerned most about is the 8-year wait to get citizenship. And it's not like you can just live in Sweden for 8 years and then apply for citizenship. There's a lot more to it than just that. For example, in my situation, I've been living in Sweden for 4.5 years. It'll be 5 years in August, but not all those years count towards citizenship because of some technicalities. I came here wanting to live here, be a part of society, integrate myself, but you can't just like be a nurse and just come here and get a job. You have to learn Swedish. So it's like I had to pay with my own life savings to come here. It's a lot of money, and that's a whole nother thing. But anyways, I used my own money. I came here. I didn't come here like as a refugee or anything like that. I came with my um, own volition, and yeah, paid to be able to work here, basically, and worked very hard to learn Swedish as good as I could for a middle-aged guy. And unfortunately, that year that I studied Swedish does not count towards citizenship here. Then the second year I worked here, I paid taxes. I was working at home health and trying to work on improving my Swedish. And that year doesn't count either, despite working, paying taxes, because my employer screwed up and didn't do my paperwork. It wasn't anything I could have done. I was totally dependent on, I needed a job. They offered me a job. It was a big company. They should know better. They've been around since 1975, and they're in 4 Scandinavian countries, and they have mostly foreigners working for them. So they should have known how to do the paperwork. But I was one of hundreds of nurses that almost got deported because of that. And unfortunately, I can't count that year either towards citizenship. So a big reason I chose Sweden, there were many reasons I chose Sweden to immigrate to. It was something I really wanted to do. And a big selling factor for me was how long does it take to get citizenship? Because once you're a citizen, life becomes a lot easier than being a temporary resident or a permanent resident. Also, I like the idea of having European citizenship because I love Europe and I want to travel, and I would love the opportunity to, if I wanted to live in Spain for a year and try it out, or if I want to live in France for a year and try it out and then come back to Sweden. No one should feel guilty for wanting to do that. But yeah, unfortunately, like I said, the first 2 years living here doesn't count. And I was like, okay, I've made peace with that. So 5 years it is on top of the 2 years. And then, of course, then you have like a waiting period, right? So it's not like after 5 years, then, you get citizenship. The next step would be you have to wait, right? And that can take 6 months. It can take a year. I've heard cases taking 2 years and even longer. It just depends. I think pretty much normal is like 6 months to a year. And so if you take the 2 years plus 5 years plus a year, you're talking 8 years for me. Well, now they want to extend, the current government wants to extend 8 years instead of 5 years to citizenship. So that means 8 years of continuously working for an employer. This can open a lot of problems. This is Pandora's box. Imagine, if you will, let's say you got married right? And you were older. Maybe you were almost ready to retire and you met the love of your life and they're Swedish. And my friend's going through this in Denmark. Denmark's even stricter right now. But if you meet the love of your life and you're, say, 58, and maybe you had enough money put back in the bank, say from America, that you were like, I'll just do an early retirement and, you know, hitch up with a Swedish person, move to Sweden. But now your being a citizen is contingent on, if this goes into effect, is contingent on you have to learn the language. So it's not going to be easy for you if you're 58 years old, and you married a Swede and you want to come here and live and spend the last of your years with them. Um, and then, having to work and get a work permit. I'm sure there's a lot of little technicalities that got to get worked out in this. But I'm using that as an example because I know a specific situation where someone's going through this right now in Denmark, because there it's 9 years now to get citizenship, and they even married a Dane, and they're being forced to work because the only way that they can come into the system is they have to work. But they have enough money put back that they want to retire. They're older. They got a lot of health problems, and the husband was gonna do the work. They're Danish, but they're being forced to learn Danish, which is like a really hard language. So I'm like seeing the similar thing happening over here. Like I said, I'm not worried about learning Swedish good enough to pass the test. I'm not worried about taking a civics test. I think those things are reasonable. I do think there should be some sort of extenuating circumstances, like the example I gave. You're 58 years old, and you marry a Swede, and it's very hard to learn a language at that age. Maybe you've got a learning disability or something like that. I think if you marry a Swede, there should be some sort of accommodations made. But I'm really concerned about this 8-year thing because for myself, like I said, 2 years doesn't count. So then 2 plus 8 years plus, after you do the 8 years, what will end up happening is you will have to take apply for the language test. So there may be a waiting period, and then you take the test and you wait for the results. Then you got to take a civics test about society here in Sweden, and that's going to take time. So we're talking 6 months, a year, 2 years, who knows? They haven't even made the exams yet. And so there's actually people that were qualified for citizenship. They had done their 5 years, and now all their paperwork's being put on hold because what the government's trying to do is lump them into this new 8-year thing. So despite the fact that they did everything that was required, I don't know. I think that's pretty crappy. I've been really following this closely. I'm seeing a lot of people that started businesses here. They're older, they haven't got citizenship yet. They loved Sweden, but because of this, and then there's other difficulties. It's not just getting citizenship. You got to think about. You got to make sure. Can you deal with the dark winters? Can you deal with the cold in the wintertime? Cultural differences. There's a lot of things that a person has to weigh if they're going to move to Sweden and integrate here in Sweden. And some of the things are not so positive in Sweden. Sweden is not a utopia. There are things that are good here that Sweden does better than other places, absolutely. But there are other things you give up, like I mentioned about the weather, the darkness. Maybe you're a more outgoing person and Swedish society is a little bit more difficult. So those are things you got to think about. And there are things that Sweden offered, right? Like to me, it was, clean air, clean water, accessibility to going out in the forest, that sort of thing. But then there's a lot of cons as well. And so a big pro for me was the citizenship within 5 years, because there was other countries I like. I love Switzerland, but I wasn't interested in Switzerland because I didn't want to have to wait and go through that and then not be guaranteed that I can get citizenship. I've heard stories of a Dutch person who was there for 20 years and still didn't get citizenship because the people didn't like her because she's a vegan and she's pro-vegan, and Switzerland has the whole cow thing, and she's like putting cowbells around cows' necks as, uh, like, what would you call that? Like abuse of the animal or whatever. And so they didn't allow her, and because the people there just didn't accept her vegan ways. And so I heard, stories like that. I'm not a vegan, by the way, but I heard enough stuff like that, and I'm just like, you know what? I just want something that's just clear cut. Okay, you do these things, you meet this criteria, 5 years, bam, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. You are a citizen. You can stay here, live out your days, work, contribute to society, integrate yourself. But if I knew, like, if it changes to 8 years in June, if I knew that, then I probably would not have chosen Sweden because I had other choices I could have gone for. And on my matrix, I had printed out on my computer, that was one of the big factors was how long does it take to become a citizen? And so, yeah. So here we are. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, maybe it won't go through. I'm seeing a lot of stuff. Yeah, I see what you said, Ida, about hoping the politicians will change their mind again on a lot of things right now. Yeah, there will be a new government, as I understand, voted in September. So we'll see if they push this through. I don't know. And then Mr. Henrik, laws are a blunt instrument to a specific problem, really dumb politicians in the past, and now you're caught in the middle because of course corrections needed. It's unfortunate. I feel for you. Yeah, I agree. We've got some serious issues here in Sweden that need to be addressed. Absolutely, 100%. And it's there's a lot of good people that will get caught as collateral damage in the crossfire, unfortunately. And I think right now I've been helping a lot of people that are, they're teachers, they're nurses, they're doctors that are trying to move here for Sweden because they want a better life, and they've read the metaphorical brochure on what Sweden represents, if you will, and they like those values. But a lot of things are changing in Sweden. The typical thing I hear from a lot of older Swedes is Sweden is not the way it was in the 80s and 90s. We're in a new age now, but I don't think the metaphorical brochure has caught up with, it's still stuck in the days of ABBA and, driving around in Saabs and Volvos, and it's very different now. I guess it's kind of like in America. Everybody thinks America is like the 50s where the husband works, the wife doesn't have to work, she can stay at home with the kids, and you got the two cars in the garage, and a nice house and a white picket fence and the two kids. And but there are places like that, but it's harder to achieve that these days. So it puts me in a weird situation now where people are reaching out to me for advice and help about moving to Sweden. And I'm kind of like, I'm going through my own little things. So I'm trying to be as transparent about it, but also realize there's people that this doesn't matter to them. I have a lot of people I've worked with that they don't care at all. They're like, I'm totally okay with waiting for 8 years or more, or 10 or 12 to get citizenship in Sweden. My big concern is, to me, it's like the carrot on the stick keeps moving forward. And I'm like, what's to say they won't change, from 5 to 8, and then down the road they could do like Austria. Austria is now 10 years. And even then it's not guaranteed. You may do the 10 years and then they're like, for whatever reason, we don't want to make you a citizen. They could just decide that. Um, maybe what if you have a serious health problem? Like I could develop a serious health problem during those 8 years, and then I'm not able to work, and I'm allowed to stay in Sweden because of working as a nurse. But what if I get injured on the job? And then I have to go back to America. And in America, I'm not going to have my healthcare needs taken care of because I haven't been paying into the system while I've been here in Sweden. They don't have universal healthcare like Sweden has. So it's like a huge gamble to stay here for a long period of time as a middle-aged person. These are worries that I'm having. I'm kind of thinking out loud. And I think a lot of Swedish people that have never immigrated, never lived in America, lived anywhere else, they don't really understand. It's easy for them to make blanket statements about, well, it's not that big, and why does citizenship even matter? These are the comments that I'm getting from a lot of people that are very, very pro for these changes. Is why does it even matter? And what do you need citizenship for? Or why don't you just go back home to America? Stuff like that. So it's a little bit discouraging. And so trying to keep a balanced attitude, and just stay as positive as possible. It's a challenge. It's a real challenge. and at the same time trying to um, help out people that still want to come here despite these changes, because I feel that things will still be better for them here in Sweden. Um, Trying to keep my feelings and my personal circumstances in check. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what's going on. And as we do this live stream here, I have important news to share with you guys. So I will save that. And I've done enough talking. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. If you have got any thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, advice, recipes you want to share, whatever. As I enjoy my Earl Grey tea here. Oh, Ida, your keyboard's acting up. No worries. I think I'll probably post this video. I normally my lives I have them open to the public so everybody can watch while it's going on, but then I put them um, privated so that only members are able to see it because sometimes some of the stuff we talk about is a little bit more intimate, and I don't want that just to anybody, but I don't mind my members that are having a paid membership being able to access that information. But I'm thinking we'll see how this video goes. I may put it out there. So if the live stream is acting out for you, hopefully you can be able to, yeah, access it later. Usually, I think within 24 hours it's ready. So maybe not tonight, but tomorrow. Yeah, wow, we've got 19 people on here. Awesome. Thank you guys for taking your time out of your evenings to hang out with me. I appreciate it. Always feel so happy and positive after I get to talk with you all here on live streams. I don't know, it just feels very rewarding to me. So thank you guys for that very much. I'm wondering how hard it's going to be with the live streams, getting people on here when the weather gets warmer and it's summertime, because like everybody's going to want to be outside enjoying every drop of sunlight. Right now it's still dark early, so I think it's easier to hang out with people here. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I posted a question in the chat box and I said, if you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be and why? I would love to hear from you guys. If there's anywhere that y'all could live on this beautiful earth, where would it be and why would you pick that place? I can kind of tell you as I'm letting y'all respond, kind of a little bit of how I've been thinking about this thing, because I've been really stressed out about this whole immigration situation. And so I'm like, okay, well, I need a backup plan. Because here's the deal. My big issue, why I'm so concerned. My father, most of y'all follow me, know my dad died unexpectedly a year and a half ago. We had no idea this was going to happen. He was pretty young. He's 69, died at work. We think a heart attack, not sure. And so I have a lot of things that have been on my mind because, for one, I wasn't there when my mother could have benefited from my help. So I felt very powerless. And, because of these very difficult, stringent laws in Sweden, there's a lot of countries that will let you leave for more than a month. But here in Sweden, you're only allowed to leave for a month per year. I've had a lot of Swedes that are very pro for these changes. And they're like, yeah, but a month is a lot of time. I'm like, it's not a lot of time when you have a loved one that you need to go and care for. I have so much stuff I need to do. And it's like every time I have vacation, it's going back to the States to try to help my family out. I have not had a real vacation since I don't even remember when, because all my vacation time I had to save up to do that. And I know a lot of Swedes don't understand because they're born into a system that's a welfare system that takes care of their loved ones. But I don't have that luxury. I still have obligations. And I care about my family and I love them, and that's just the way it is. I need to be there to support them, and so it's really hard on me to have to keep pushing off being able to go back for, because I'm thinking it'd be nice to go back to the States for between 6 months to a year. I think that's about how much time it would take to get my mother's affairs in order. She's got a lot of health problems, and there's a lot of stuff my dad did not prepare for his death, and so I need to go back, and I have a lot of work that's piling up that I need to go back and do. But if I have to wait for 8 years, you know, it's like I lost my father. I don't want to lose my mother. I will never forgive myself if that were to happen. But at the same time, I don't feel safe living in the United States. So I would love to be able to. I've already invested all my life savings into coming here, learning Swedish, getting my nursing license. I've done so much already here. I don't want to throw all that away because I stayed out of Sweden for more than 30 days. So it's pretty stressful. um, so those are some things I'm thinking about. Uh, I also have a lot of dental problems. I'm not real happy with the dental care here in Sweden. As y'all, those of you that have followed me know that I had a botched surgery, and I just did a checkup today, and I have a bunch of bone that's exposed in my jaw, and I'm really scared. Really scared. I never had so many dental problems until, I've had surgery before. I never had any issues in the States, but they're very, I don't know, they don't use antibiotics here. They don't use painkillers usually. They may use a little, local anesthetic. And I've spent tons of money on dental care. So I feel like I need to go back to the States and get I may have to get gum transplants and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not going to do that here because I'm very unhappy with the dental care here. Um, so yeah, I got a lot of stuff I need to take care of, but we'll see if the government changes and if they change to 8 years. If they stay to the 5 years and I'm staying, I already promised my mother, I said, I'll try to finish out, the time that I need to do. And then I'm going to come home. I kind of promised that to my mom that I'm going to go back after I get citizenship, because then I can stay for 6 months or a year and then I can come back to Sweden. But yeah, so let's see here. Zindra, Byron Bay, NNSW area, Australia. Yeah, so that must be New South Wales area in Australia, the best climate in the world. In response to the question I had about where in the world would you live if you could live anywhere? 15 to 20 degrees Celsius. Oh, that sounds nice. In the winter, and 25 to 30 in the summer. That's perfect. Amazing climate, beautiful surroundings. You'd move in a heartbeat if you could. That sounds amazing. I've never been to Byron Bay. I've been to quite a few places in Australia. I've been to, I guess it's Victoria, right? With Melbourne, and I've been all over that area of Melbourne. I was there in Australia for like a whole month, and then took the train all the way up to Sydney, and I've been out in the bush, out by the Colo River. Yeah, what was the name of that city? It started with a W. I can't remember. It's like some small town out in the Blue Mountains, out by the Colo River. Then I've been to New Zealand as well, which New Zealand is awesome. So I totally get your sentiments about Australia. Ida says a month is short when you factor in jet lag, travel, transit, depending on how far away you have to travel. Exactly. It usually takes me 2 weeks to recover from jet lag. They say it's 1 day per time zone on average. And for Texas, it's 7 time zones. That's an entire week. But for me, it takes like 1 week extra. Um, so, and it's like I said earlier, it's not vacation. It's like you're going home to take care of stuff, climbing up on the roof to fix, stuff that your mother can't get up there and do. And, it's just, yeah, it's overwhelming how much stuff I got waiting for me back home. Mr. Henrik says, antibiotic issue in Sweden is nuts. You need to practically be dying to get some, while Cyprus, Spain, Italy pump their animals full. Exactly. It's like, where's the balance? Where's the balance, people? Because I remember when I was young, Thankfully, my mom did not really take us to the doctor that much. It was mostly because we couldn't afford it and we had no insurance. When I was really little, we did go to the doctor quite a bit up until when we started having financial trouble and we ended up being homeless for a while. Then we never went to the doctor and never could afford a dentist. And so we just tried to do prevention. But I don't think I really ever got prescribed antibiotics. But I know in that time it was common if you had a cold or flu or whatever, they would prescribe antibiotics, but it's a virus. You don't give antibiotics for a virus usually. And so, yeah. But now, I worked in the States in pharmacy for 7 years. And then I worked because I thought I was going to be a pharmacist. Then I went into nursing and did that for 11 years. And then I moved to Sweden. So I've got a lot of experience in the medical field. And I would say by the time I started working in the medical field, pretty much most people knew that you don't give antibiotics willy-nilly. But I do think a lot of the meat still probably was getting pumped full of stuff, the chicken and the beef. And so you had to like read on the package and find out, because you can buy meat without that kind of stuff, but you have to like read the labels. It's crazy. Let's see here. Cue ball, you love Australia too, but out of reach. We buy a cottage in Sweden this year, only for holidays at first, but plan to be permanent once we retire. Oh, congratulations, Cue ball. That's super cool. Can I ask what city in Sweden? I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do for the summer for vacation because I was not able to use all my vacation time last summer. It's hard to get off here in the hospital because we're like short staff. So I've got quite a bit saved up. So I think I'm going to probably take 3 weeks in August. And I'm thinking about traveling around Sweden and go look at cottages and stuff. Thing is, here I can't afford anything in Skåne. I think I'm going to have to go further north. I heard pretty much you have to go like north of what's it called? Karlstad. I think they said everything north of Karlstad is cheap. Like the price, you can find old houses for the price of a used car. So I'm thinking about that. I wouldn't mind. A lot of it depends on if the government goes through with this 8-year thing where, if they pass the law and say it's 8 years to citizenship, then I'm not going to invest. I'll be straight up honest with you. I'm not going to invest any more time and money in it because I can get EU citizenship faster in a lot of other ways. And that is part of my update that I have to share for you guys. I have really cool good news. I'll tell you here in a bit. Around the Emmaboda Kalmar area. Okay. I love Kalmar. I'm not real familiar with outside of Kalmar. I've gone to Kalmar a few times because to get my nursing licenses, I had to take a bunch of exams in Kalmar and Gothenburg. So I've driven out there. It's pretty cool. I like the castle they have out there in Kalmar. It's quite nice. It's a bit dead. It was wintertime, so it was quite dead, but it was beautiful still. I can only imagine how nice it must be in the summertime. It's you got that island. I think it's got Olin Island out there. It's got to be amazing. But yeah, I guess I can go ahead and tell you we've already been talking for a little over half an hour now. Kind of the big update I have. So if y'all know my story about why did I choose Sweden, you know that I have been trying since I was a small child to move to another country. I've always loved culture. I love different languages and food and accents and meeting people. The idea of traveling was a big deal for me. And then, I found out after I was a nurse that there were opportunities to work as a nurse in other countries. And so I heard about Dubai, and then all of a sudden I came upon something with Australia, and it was a work holiday thing, and I was 29. And as long as you were under the age of 30, you could do a work holiday in Australia. And now if I did everything over again, I should have done it. I probably would have already been a citizen there a long time ago and probably be very happy. But I was like, if I'm gonna do this, I need to like do it now. I couldn't wait, because there's only 1 year to apply for the work holiday thing. Ida says you can rent a cottage too, no need to buy. In the summer, it would also be possible to go camping in a tent, probably cheaper than a cottage. I actually, believe it or not, I have a brand new tent that I've had for 2 years. I've never used because I can't find any good tenting spots. I keep asking everybody, I was like, where do you go camping where there's like no people, where it's actually real private? And everyone's like, I don't tent. I don't go out and do tenting. So if you've got any recommendations of a specific something I can Google, so I would be very interested. I got a tent, I got air mattresses, I have a sleeping bag. None of it's been used. The only thing I got to get is something to cook food with, and maybe a thing for filtering water, and then I'll be set. I would love to go camping. I'm a little scared because I've never been camping before, so I don't really like know how to prepare. And it's always that for me, part of my neurodivergence, I always have trouble doing something for the first time. It's really hard to do that first time if you've never done it. Anyways, yeah, so back to the story. So I thought about Australia, and then my friend, who's also a nurse and was also a neuro nurse like me, but he was children and I was adults. He says, "Hey, I am going to be applying to go to England as a nurse. Would you like to go with me? And then we can because it's so expensive to be living in London. But there's a travel nurse company that will help us get our license and everything like that called Continental Travel Nurse. Would you like to go?" And I said, I would love to go. And then we can split an apartment and everything. So we started the process. So I didn't do the Australia thing. And then the time went by and then I was over 30. So I couldn't do it. It was too late. So, but I was like, I'm doing this England thing. It's better because it's closer to my mom. It's like 9 hour flight as opposed to 23 hours on the other side of the world. And 4 years later, I still did not have a nursing license in England, despite I passed the boards exams. I did the fingerprinting, FBI screening, letters of recommendation, you name it, sending in transcripts. And it came down to a technicality because in America, it's common for you to get like an associate degree in nursing, RN, and then go get your bachelor's RN later. And England counts their credit hours different than America does. And they're like, we need you to convert all your transcripts from all those different universities to British credit. And there's like no way to do it. There's no mathematical formula. There's no company that does it at the time. And so I was having to get meetings with these colleges trying to get them to change the hours and convert them. And so they basically just were fudging the numbers, just writing something like, what do you think it was? How many hours do you think you were in the desk? Like there's no official way to do it. So they're just like writing something on paper. So the big university did it for me. But then the community college didn't. You could never get a hold of anyone. They didn't want to mess with it. They didn't know how to do it. And it was just like, so I had everything done except for that. And 4 years goes by. And then hey, 4 years has gone by. Your board's exam in England has expired. You're going to have to retake it. And I already spent like a couple £1,000 trying to do all this. And so I just said, forget it. I'm not doing this again. I was so mad. And then I'm like, they needed nurses really bad in England, but then they make the process literally impossible. And so then I didn't know what to do. And then I looked at Ireland, and then I heard Ireland was even worse, and they'd only accepted like 9 international nurses to the entire country of the Republic of Ireland. I'm like, that's kind of a bad sign, like in 1 year. So then I was like, okay, well, I'll just travel the world and kind of figure things out. I looked at New Zealand, and I heard all the nurses are leaving New Zealand, and the only nurses staying were foreign nurses coming in from other countries. Because the working situation for nurses is really bad in New Zealand. A lot of them leave to Australia or America or Canada or wherever. And then I was like, man, I don't know what to do. So then I went on some vacation trips to Europe. I went to Germany. I loved Germany. I was like, well, maybe I'll try to learn German and get my nursing license in Germany. And then I found out nursing is not the professional level that it is in Sweden or United States or England. A nurse there is more like undersköterska in Swedish, or more like a LVN in America, uh, kind of sort of as an assistant. And the doctors end up doing a lot of stuff that a nurse would do in the United States. And then it's not real well regulated or federalized. It's like everything depends on, like, is it Schwarzwald that you're working, or is it Bavaria that you're working, or in one of the other, I don't know what they call them, like the regions or states or whatever of in Germany. So I wasn't impressed with that. Then the language, that was a big thing to think about. But then I found out they had free college tuition. So I thought, well, maybe what I'll do, I'll save up my money and I'll just study there, get a master's in healthcare. And then, I was thinking about going to Munich to TUM, the university there. But while going through that and researching that, one summer I decided to come to Sweden. It was in 2017. Hey there, ZZ44 PPPPPP. What a name. That's a mouthful. And so I was like, yeah, let's go to Sweden. It's hot in Texas and I need a vacation. So I went to Sweden, still didn't know what I was going to do. And then found out that Sweden needed nurses. Everyone's like, oh, you need to come to Sweden, come help us. And everybody seems so friendly in Sweden, oh, you'd be a wonderful addition here to the healthcare system and things. So I was like, oh, that's an interesting idea. So I started looking into it. Now, up to this point, remember, I had my heart set on England. I really wanted to move to England, and it didn't work out. And here's some more information. My mother is British. So her parents are American, but during the Vietnam War, my grandfather was stationed in London. So we're coming up on the big news I'm about to tell you guys. This is a long story. Sorry. But I'm excited to tell you all you guys about this story. So my grandfather was stationed, he was working in Thailand in the Air Force, and then they bought a house in just outside Cambridge in England. And my mother ended up being born there during this time. So she got British citizenship by birth. But then they left England when she was a little bit over 2 years old. They moved back to Texas, and she's never been back. Doesn't have a British passport or anything like that. So my mom is a dual citizen. I was born in 1981. I have looked for years trying to figure out, is there a way I could claim British citizenship through my mother? And the law said no. Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that about the volume. So I'm like, why can I not get British citizenship? And it was because I was born in 81. So apparently the laws had changed in 81 and said if you were born in 83 or after, you could claim on your father's British citizenship. Well, it was my mother. It was not my father. So it's kind of sexist, And then there was also the issue of I was born before 83. So then 2002, they changed the laws and they said, well, if you're born before 83, if I remember correctly, oh, I'm getting to the update right here. Hey, hang in there. It's coming. The story's building up. So they said you couldn't get citizenship, if it was your mother before 83, but you could do it on your father now. So it still didn't help me out. Well, by then, I've already moved to Sweden, right? And I'm trying to get Swedish citizenship. But then these crazy laws are trying to make where they're going to, they're already like the carrot on stick keeps moving out. And I was like, oh, 5 years. Well, it'll be 5 years in August. Well, they're only going to count 2.5 years of the 5 years I'll have been here in Sweden. Now they want to extend it from 5 years to 8 years for citizenship, which means 10, possibly 12 years for me. And I'm like, as y'all heard in the beginning of the video, why I can't do that, why it's a no-go. I've been really discouraged and stressed out about this, and been talking a lot with my family back home about the situation. So I'm like, I need a backup plan. Well, mind you, I've been on the internet. I've been on Reddit. I literally posted on Reddit a few months ago, I guess, about My mom was born in England. Her parents were American. I was born in Texas. My mother's never been back since too. Do I qualify for British citizenship through my mother? And everyone said no. I had lawyers reaching out to me saying no. So now we've got ChatGPT, and I'm not real good at using it. I'm using it for certain things, and I should have been using it more, but I didn't really trust it. And so I was like, okay, ChatGPT, here's my situation. Do I qualify for citizenship? And it said, very likely. And I'm like, okay, this is the first time I've seen this for British citizenship. Okay, this is interesting. So then I started digging some more and kind of refining the questions. And marrying a Swede could be a way. Yeah, I just got to find the one that will put up with me. Oh, yeah. I haven't found that one yet. Anyways, but that's definitely a suggestion. Only thing is, Mama 636. Even if I marry someone, because where I'm at in the flow of time now, if the law goes into effect June 6th, I still have to wait 8 years. So it won't matter if what they're saying they want to do goes into effect. Yeah, I see your comments there. You said something about the volume's good and what's the update. So yeah, updates. That's what I'm talking about is the British stuff. And so, anyways, I was like, okay, how do I find out if I really qualify? So I was like, okay, I'm tired of doing things on my own. I've never trusted lawyers or other people to do my stuff, but I'm like, I'm just going to figure it out. Like a good company to do it, to figure it out so I don't have to do it. So I did a bunch of research and I found a company called Passportia. They had really good reviews, like thousands of good reviews. And then I have a friend who's real good at like digging. And I was like, can you find any dirt on this company? And he's like, no, he couldn't find anything. So I got in contact with them. And then I found out, here's the big update, everyone. I qualify for British citizenship immediately. And I was like, you have no idea how excited I was. I mean, like this was a big deal because like I've wanted this, I've tried moving, to England and all this kind of thing. And then after all the stress I've been through in my situation. So I'm like, okay, let's talk about this. So they said apparently the laws changed recently because it was found that it was discriminatory because I couldn't claim on my mother, which means it's like a woman is not worth as much as a man. Well, now they've changed. And so before 1983, you can claim. There's a time frame. I think it's like, I could be wrong, but I think it's like between 1960 and 1983. If you're born in that time, you can claim on your mother and father. Before that, then there's some other stuff. I think after 1943 is like the cutoff where you can't do that anymore. Like if you want to claim on your grandparents. So they're like, um, yeah, they could find my mother in the system. They found my grandparents in the system as we're talking on the phone, and they're like, you have inherited citizenship. You just need to claim it. And they're like, it should take a month to 3 months. You don't even have to leave Sweden. You can stay in Sweden. You can go to the embassy, do your oath, get sworn in, and get your citizenship. And then another couple months, and you'll get your passport. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. After all that I have been through all these years, I was like on cloud nine. I was like, you have got to be kidding me. So, it's a bit of money. I had to borrow a little bit of money because money's a bit tight, but I was like, it's worth it just to do that and just to have the peace of mind. So we're starting the process now, and I'm going to keep you guys updated on how this goes. Some other interesting updates regarding British citizenship. And it doesn't mean I'm leaving Sweden. Don't panic. It doesn't mean hey there. Oh, hey, Vanchastha. This is one of my subscriber members. Awesome to see you on here. Thank you so much. Yes, so I found out with the British citizenship, if push comes to shove and I have to leave Sweden, I still can work in Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, which is EU. British citizenship allows you to live and work in Ireland with no problem. And then I don't have a language barrier, right? Because then I have to like learn Irish. They do have like a language, but they speak English. So I could get a job there as a citizen of Britain and then be close to Sweden. So when the rain's getting to me in the summertime, I can just fly over to Sweden and enjoy the nice sun in the last 2 months of the summer, right? Um, and then after 5 years, this is crazy. After 5 years, you qualify for citizenship for Ireland, which I mean, that's insane. I don't need three citizenships, but that would open up the opportunity. I could move back to Sweden if push comes to shove. That would be an opportunity for me to. And then I was talking to my dentist today about this, and they're like, "You can't have three citizenships." And I was like, "I think you can because I've heard of it. I've seen enough stuff out there about it. And I know a lot of people that get their panties in a wad about this sort of thing. Like, you need to pick a country. What if we go to war? I'm like, I'm not going to sit around worrying about what ifs. We'll cross that bridge when it happens, and then I can make a decision. I'm not going to live my life, in fear." Yeah, Brexit definitely changed stuff, Mr. Henrik. It really did. I kind of wonder if that has something to do with why I can now claim British citizenship on my mother. I'm wondering if they are in a situation where they've had to make this change because of that. I I have a feeling. Um, Mama 636 says, so being British can also allow you to stay in Sweden apart from leaving for Ireland and learning to drive on the wrong side of the road. Yeah. I need to find out. I don't know all the technicalities because see, the UK has left Europe. I hope they come back. I see merit in that. One other option could be if I get a job in Scotland, because I've been following this stuff for years. I'm very interested in this sort of thing. Scotland has a pretty good movement going on of people that want to join the EU. They want to claim independence and then join the EU. But they haven't had big enough support yet for that. But I think it's coming. Maybe England and the rest of the UK will decide to come back to the EU. I don't know. Be interesting to see how it goes. I know Iceland's talking about joining the EU because of all this crazy stuff in America happening and all the wars. So I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on. And I'm like, I need a backup plan. I need a backup plan. I don't want to be stuck with just American citizenship. I really want to have a European citizenship of some sort. Mama 636 says, yes, but the Schengen deal, I think UK is a part of it. Really? I'll do some digging. Thank you for bringing that up. I haven't had time to get that deep into the information, so I will definitely do a bit of digging on that and see what I can find out. I assume there was some sort of, because I know there's what's called EEA. You're making me like really happy right now. I'm like, oh man, that'd be cool because then maybe I don't have to worry about this Swedish citizenship. If I can somehow stay here on the British and then just call it a day, I would be so happy. So we will see, and I will keep you guys posted on this positive turn of events. It's nice to have something positive. I know my what's the update? Did you miss it? I've been talking about it that I'm applying for British citizenship. It's not UK is not part of Schengen, according to Mr. Henrik Anderson. Yeah, UK is not Schengen, Mama. We'll have to see. Maybe we can look. Hang on. I'm gonna do a Google here and see if I can find out something. Is the UK? How would I word that? Maybe I can get it on Chat GPT and find out. See, Chat GPT here. It's easier with Chat GPT. Oh my goodness, it's okay. Here we go. Can a UK citizen, or maybe we could word it this way: what does a UK citizen need to work in Sweden. Let's see what it says here. It says the rules have changed after Brexit. You're now treated like a non-EU citizen, so you usually need a work permit before starting a job. So you need a job offer from Swedish employer. The job must be advertised in the EU EEA for at least 10 days. Salary so it basically sounds just like me working from America. I would need to make at least 27,360 kroner per month before tax, but often higher depending on the job. Um, Employer has to provide insurance, life, occupational injury pension. So unfortunately, it seems like because of Brexit, the UK is just like America now. I hope it changes though. That would be awesome. Let's see here. GROK is better. What is GROK? What does that stand for? SHGT 1136. A bit off topic. Do you have any friends who moved to Canada from the US? Do you think at this point it was a better choice? Canada was my other option I was looking at the last couple of weeks. As a nurse, because if you're a nurse, you're a skilled worker, you can apply for permanent residency and you can get it in 6 months. It's so much easier. If you're an American and you're open to Canada, I'd say go for Canada. It's a beautiful country. I mean, it reminds me a lot of, you know, Norway, with the amazing mountains and the glaciers and the water and just the nature and everything. Um, I'm starting to wonder, ZZ44PPPPP. I'm wondering if you're trolling me because you've asked about the update and I've already told the update like several for a while here. I'm not sure if you're hearing me or if you're just maybe a troll. Anyways, where was I going with that? Canada. So there is a way to get citizenship within 3.5 years if you're a nurse and you move to Canada. There's a whole list. You can look up skilled workers in Canada and find out what's on the list, what qualifies for the 6 months residency. Bencham have personally been looking into moving to Canada, specifically Quebec. That's exactly what I wanted to do. If I was going to go to Canada, it would be Quebec because at least you got that European vibe going on. They speak French, the architecture and everything like that. Beautiful place. And you're currently in the US. Yeah, I would say go for that. It might be easier if you don't speak French to pick another state or a province, I should say, in Canada that's closer to Quebec. And then while you're there working and accruing time towards citizenship, then you could be learning the language, studying French there. And then you could move over to Quebec. That would be the route I would take. I don't think I would just jump right in and go straight to Quebec. I don't know, just my advice. But is there another part of Canada you would think about? Like, there's some neat areas. There's like Nova Scotia is pretty awesome. And I think Prince Edward Island, I think, is another one there. But I don't know. I mean, I hear mixed stuff about Canada. A lot of people are leaving Canada. It's so hard with this stuff because these things are so relative. Immigration is so relative. So you have people that are moving there and they're just so happy. And then you have people that are leaving Canada and they're so unhappy. And it's like the same thing with Sweden. There's people that love Sweden and Sweden is a utopia. It's so wonderful. It's just fantastic. And then you get other people, I hate Sweden. It's cold. It's dark. The people are not friendly. It's like, everyone's different. We're not all the same. We all have our challenges. We all have our needs. We all have our skills. And then you're saying have personally been looking into moving to Canada, specifically Quebec. And then, yeah, there's a lot to consider. Absolutely. The French culture is a big part of the appeal for me. Yeah, definitely. Mr. Henrik Anderson says Canada seems very expensive. Yes. So that is the biggest reason. When I've Googled, it seems to be the biggest reason for people leaving Sweden is, sorry, not Sweden, leaving um, Canada is because of the cost of living. There is a lot of people that have, believe it or not, immigrated from China and bought up a lot of properties, especially in British Columbia. And because of that, it's all about supply and demand. There's not a lot of property available now. And so housing is just gone out the ceiling. I mean, it's insane how expensive housing is there. The other parts of Canada, though, where you can find things cheaper than, say, British Columbia. But from what I understand, like the salaries are not as high as America, but they're comparable. Like as a nurse, I think from what I understand, this when I was kind of comparing the numbers, it's about 80 to 85% the amount that you make in America as a nurse. But then with your taxes, you get socialized medicine, you get a lot of subsidies and stuff like that. But then, like, housing is expensive, gas is expensive, food is expensive. So I think it depends on your lifestyle, which part of Canada you live in. Do you want a house? Do you want, you know, yeah, you get the drift. So yeah, so that's the news. Super excited. I'll have something positive to look forward to now, and now I'm not so stressed out because as long as I got that second citizenship, just in case something crazy happens in America, because I am a bit worried about civil war in the states right now, just because of everything. Uh, so it's nice to have a backup plan. The other thing that I'm glad about is, and that means that my brother and sister are technically British, um, based on birth, and so we can get them citizenship as well there in Britain. And my mom already has it, so I already talked to them. I'm like, if push comes to shove, we could all technically move as a whole family there, which would be really cool. Um, yeah. So yeah, cool news. This is my first time saying anything about it here on YouTube or any of my social media platforms. So y'all are the first to get to hear about it. So I'm glad to get to share that with you guys. Um, SHGT, I heard that around Alberta is more affordable. Yeah. I think Alberta and Ontario were actually, it seemed like in the research I was doing, they kept coming up as good options when it comes to affordability, salaries, all that kind of stuff. Mr. Henrik Anderson, hope the best for you, regardless where you live, even if I hope you stay here. Oh, thank you for that. That's really kind. I hope I get to stay too. And my hope is, that they don't go through with this 8-year thing. I mean, I understand. I get it. And I'm a guest here in this land. And, you know, I'm not a citizen here, so I can't pick that. I don't understand it. I don't agree with it. I think it's going to hurt Sweden in the long run because you have a lot of professional, skilled workers that are talking about leaving because of this. And that was a huge thing going for Sweden, was the 5-year plan if you were a skilled worker. And I think they should have a fast track plan like Canada and England has had it. A lot of countries have a fast track plan or some sort of investment program where if you're giving back to the country, you can speed up the time. And I think that's very good for Sweden. If Sweden had something like that, it would make more sense because you're making Sweden, you're helping Sweden out. You're integrating, you're contributing, you're making things better. And I think that's inspiring to have something like that. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem that that's the concern at the moment. And the other thing I don't understand, I've had some discussions with a lot of these nationalist people on my YouTube platform. And I'm one of those people, I don't really get offended. The only thing that annoys me is stupidity. I don't have much, I'm starting to understand that the older I get, the less patience I have with stupid. I can't do stupid. So I don't typically get offended about some of these comments that some of these people make here in Sweden. It's not the majority; it's the minority, but it's sizable amount of people. And so I really want to understand how the brain works, just like the people that make certain decisions in the states. I'm like, I want to understand how the brain works because I'm fascinated by that. It's like, what's going on in between those ears? And so he just DM'd me on Instagram. Awesome, I'll take a look. Thank you. um, so yeah, I'm like, I really want to understand why they're not thinking about the fact that we have a skilled labor shortage. There's lots of jobs that are not getting filled in Sweden, and it's jobs. They say there's not enough jobs here. There's a lot of jobs, but you have to be trained and educated, like a nurse or a doctor or physical therapist or whatever. There's lots of that, but there's not enough people trained in those jobs. The entry level jobs is the thing that's a big problem. And there's a lot of people here that they're taking all the entry level jobs. And so it's quite competitive, if you don't have a degree in a field that's needed here in Sweden. And so my concern is what's going to happen if a lot of people that are skilled workers get upset about this 8-year thing and then leave. And so I've asked this question to some of these people, and it's like, they never answer the question. I find the same kind of that's one thing I've learned about living in another country. I've learned about living in Sweden is people are people. You will find the same mentality of people here in Sweden as you find in the United States, as you find in England. I mean, humans are humans. There's some variation definitely, and things lie more skewed on one end of the spectrum or the other, but you will still find human behavior. You will still find narcissists. You will still find sociopaths. You will still find no country is immune to that. And yeah. Uh, oh, you're hilarious, Mama 636. uh, I will say, Mama 636, you're not the only one that I heard that from, unfortunately. I know a lot of people that are very proud of what they're seeing, but I know a lot of people that feel the way that you do as well. Yeah. Um, Zindra says it should be more than just how many years. You're well integrated, talk Swedish, have a job, so on, which you can't say about a lot of immigrants. You should get a Swedish passport. Oh, thank you, Zindra. I've tried. I really tried, because I'm like, you come to America, you got to learn English, you need to get a job, you need to learn how to drive, follow the laws when you're driving and, all that sort of thing. I mean, I'm very patient with people in the States, with immigrants. Most of my friends weren't immigrants, or first generation born in America, but to parents of other countries. I really enjoyed that diversity. I surrounded myself with diversity. At the same time, these people I surrounded myself with, my experience was that they integrated themselves pretty well. You will always have outliers. But yeah, I mean, you move to America, you should learn English. You move to Sweden, you should learn Swedish. There are those occasional exceptions I mentioned. You fall in love with a really good looking Swede and you're 58 years old and, they're about the same age, and it's going to be a little bit tough trying to learn Swedish at 58 years of age, and there are going to be those cases. So, but I think most cases people should be able to learn at least a B level Swedish, you know? But that's all I got to say about that. Yes, you read my mind, Mama 636. It's time for Z's. Studying to be an underwater is hard. It is. I can only imagine. Lick it till. Have a good night's sleep. I'm gonna do the same, guys. I need to hit the hay. Yeah, no worries. It's always fun trying to type in both Swedish and English or other languages at the same time on the same keyboard. Totally get it. But anyways, thank you guys so much. You have no idea how much I mean to me. This has been really fun having YouTube. I started YouTube like 5 years ago and had no idea where this was going to go. Is more just like as an outlet for myself, a creative outlet. And then I have met so many amazing people. And I'm not just saying this just because I literally mean it. I've had so many people help me out so much here in Sweden. And so, yeah, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Mr. Henrik Anderson, yeah, thanks as well. Sleep good yourself too. Yeah, good night, Vashanta. Same to you, Cue Ball. Take care. And I'll put this up tomorrow. The thing's got to run through the system and get edited by YouTube. And then, like I said, I don't normally put the live streams out, but I think I'll do it for this one. We'll see what the response is if I don't get too much negative feedback. And then I make it to members only. But I do, if y'all want to see, I'm gonna try to start putting more members only content out there. If y'all want to be a member, I think it's like, I could be wrong. I think it's about 4.99 or something like that. Like about the price of a coffee. Where I'm gonna try to start putting out more content out there. Uh, you know that I probably wouldn't put out. Just for the general public. So, but anyways, thank you guys. Take care of yourselves and have a good night.